Jeez. Oh no! What happened? That's not good. I guess we're gonna fix the video real quick. Somehow. The camera's on. Give me a second. I don't know if this means I have to restart the stream all the way yet. Silly computer. All right, boys. I'll be right back. It looks like I got to bounce the PC. Something went. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! We up. We're up. We did it. I think I'm just doing too many things with this computer anymore these days. That is what it is. But we're up. We're good. Somehow. So one of the things I've been running into is I do meetings. And when I do meetings, sometimes people want to do it on Zoom. And when they do it on Zoom, I think whatever it pulls it just basically wants the camera to be only for itself. And it destroys your capabilities of streaming and all of that to, well, yeah, anyways, doesn't matter. Let's get into it today. Let me get the recording started for Spotify later. Yes, we're available on Spotify now, so if you want to watch over there, you can. I usually get it uploaded by the evening, and so, you know, if you can always watch the previous days in the evening, usually, hopefully trying to get to the point to where I'm getting it done by rush hour traffic, or you can just listen to it the next day. And it does have video as well. So definitely check it out on Spotify. I do need to update my description on YouTube so that you guys can get that information. All right. What's up, sons? Welcome to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all things cryptocurrency from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. Today we have a lot of mining talk, essentially, as we have 3 new miner releases from T-Rex, Phoenix Miner, and BZ Miner. We're also going to be talking about the 30 series GPUs having a price plummet in Australia. Then we're going to be talking about the some GPU cooling stuff that's going on. The copper plates. Cool My GPU, who's been a supporter of the channel, does have these copper plates already actually pre-made, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I haven't got around to fully testing those yet, though, to be clear, even though he has kindly sent me some. Then we're going to talk about Crypto Miner Hut 8 basically reporting a Q4 loss, and it's apparently a surprise loss for Q4. So we're going to talk about that, and then, of course, the mining profitability for the week. There is a lot more news kind of floating around. Unfortunately, you know, I was up really late. I'm not going to lie. I was up really late, you know, basically trying to create Soakcoin, and I'm getting obsessed. The problem is when I get obsessed, I forget what time it is. That's pretty much exactly how that happened. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit later in the questions and answers portion of it. So without further ado, let's get into it after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. Purchasing mining equipment online can be dangerous. With all of the fake storefronts and scams, it can be hard to find a reliable source. That's why when BT Miners reached out for a channel sponsorship, I started by verifying that ordering and delivery went smoothly with a purchase of my own. If you are looking to purchase ASICs hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICMinerValue.com and CryptoMiner.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and use promo code FREESHIPPING2021 for free shipping on your order. Welcome back. If you guys want to purchase ASICs, please be sure to use my affiliate link for BT Miners. And as far as that goes, an update too, as far as my ASIC miner that is waiting on RMA, I am part of the delay from the shipments from China for BT miners. So unfortunately, I will not have a replacement for at least another week, probably 2 weeks, because it's not going to ship for another week because they are shut down due to COVID, which is apparently still a thing over there. So let's go ahead and get into T-Rex Miner version 25.9, released 3 hours ago. We will have to go ahead and reset this up since the reboot, but that's no problem. I can do that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so 3 hours ago, this was released by T-Rex Miner. Today is March 17th, 2022. And here are the changes. Allow setting LHR dual ratio parameter for ETH plus ALF dual mining. E.g., you can do the dual algo mode and then A12, R10, LR12. So dual ratio 10, light hash rate dual ratio 12. Then Linux, on Linux, they will now display memory temperatures for the GPUs with GDDR6X memory type, and that will require administrator privileges. So just keep that in mind. A bug fix for this particular release is for ProgPow. Miner frequently disconnects from the pool when mining Cero. So apparently this has been solved as well. Next, we have the release for Phoenix Miner. This is going to be version PM 6.0C. Of course, PM standing for Phoenix Miner. This one's interesting because we really haven't seen much from Phoenix Miner. We kind of been talking about how we don't see a lot from them. The last release was 14 days ago, and then before that, it hadn't been, like, it had been so long that it was November 29th, 2021 for the last release from them. There's been a lot of changes. We kind of talked about how they started adding the light hash rate unlocks, but like it feels a little too late because most miners had already implemented this. So Phoenix Miner is definitely way behind, but they have a laundry list of improvements for 6.0C, and let's go ahead and take a look at them. They implemented partial unlocking for NVIDIA light hash rate cards. By default, they are detected automatically and unlocked with the default unlock intensity of 520. If you want to try higher or lower LHR unlock intensity, use the new LHR command line parameter. For example, LHR 580 will try a more aggressive unlocking than the default 520 unlock intensity. This parameter may and should be specified for each GPU separately, as some GPUs can support higher unlock speeds than others. If an NVIDIA LHR card locks up because of a high light hash rate, the default 520 will work with most cards. The card will be unlocked again, and the light hash rate value will be lowered if necessary. So that's going to be automatic. Added support for new AMD Windows drivers up to driver version 22.2.3. Multiple other small fixes and improvements is what they say. The updated list of known issues and workarounds are this. The new NVIDIA 3050 and 3080 12 gigabyte cards have different kind of light hash rate locks, which is not supported yet. We've talked about this before. There are some other miners out there that have released specific unlocks for the 3050. That's the only one I have to test. I do not have a 3080 12 gigabyte. But for example, Team Black Miner is one that has a 3050 specific light hash rate unlock. The latest AMD Linux drivers 21.50 are not supported. The AMD Linux drivers 21.40.2 aren't verified also. This will be added in the final release of 6.0 next week. So I guess we should be paying attention next week for another release from them. AMD Linux driver 21.40.1 has a bug preventing proper setting of clocks and voltages on older cards. Given that these drivers are also usually slower than the older drivers for these cards, we recommend using Linux drivers 20.30 for anything older than the RX 6000 series. And while other miners don't necessarily have to have that, and you can be on the newer Linux drivers, I have noticed, especially on the Polaris cards, more frequently than not, I am downgrading the Hive OS image to an older driver set for Polaris GPUs and for the RX 5700s because they appear to be a lot more reliable. Now, the only miner that seems to really not care about this, just in case you guys are wondering, if you've updated your Hive OS image and it has the latest Radeon drivers and you're kind of like, it's just not stable on Team Red Miner, and you just want it up and running really quick, you'll get a lower hash rate, but you can bump over to LOL Miner. This is coming from personal experience just as of yesterday, by the way, too. I had a USB drive fail. I flashed a new OS, plugged that in, was running it my 5700 rig, and Team Red Miner just wouldn't pick up mining on all the cards. And so I did, of course, first of all, was like, okay, well, I'll just try a different miner. LOL Miner seems to work all the time. And it did work, but we did have some cards that were dropping in hash rate, even though the temperatures on the memory were reporting okay. So then what I went ahead and did was flash an older version of Hive OS onto a USB drive, plug that in, go back into Team Red Miner, pump that up, and I basically just went with the one that worked previously, and we were good to go. This kind of all started with me when we were doing the dual mining stuff with the 5700 XT, where I started upgrading those images, and I dread that I ever did that because we were perfectly fine mining on just Ethereum with the 5700s on the old Hive OS image. It's just a note. Basically, if you want to get it up and running, if you've been experiencing these problems with older than 6000 series cards, bump over to LOL Miner to get it up and running right now, and then you can bounce back around and maybe downgrade the image for Hive OS. But it's kind of a known issue across the board with a lot of miners, so I wouldn't say, Phoenix Miners messing up here necessarily. It's just something to note. Now, LOL Miner doesn't seem to have the same problem though either. So there's that. AMD Linux driver 21.40.1 has a bug preventing proper settings of clocks and voltages on older cards. Given that these drivers are also usually slower, we already went over that one. If you are using those drivers with the Radeon 7 cards, you need to add the option FPWM1 in order to have proper fan control. AMD Linux drivers 21.40.1 has finally removed the requirement of PCIe atomics, but there are problems when you try to mix Polaris cards and Vega or newer cards on the same rig. Once again, this is pretty standard mining farm issues that you run into across the board. This is why when I talk about building a mining rig, to try to keep the cards not only within the same manufacturer, but within the same generation. Meaning if you're going to build a rig, the absolute best and most reliable way is to match the cards identically across the board, meaning NVIDIA GTX 1660 Super from MSI and the specific model. And that way you have a lot less to troubleshoot. But if you can't get to that, you can start adding in different manufacturers, right? Like maybe you have an EVGA for the Win and you have an Asus TUF, and they're both 3070s, but they seem to run pretty well in the same rig together. And then, from there, maybe you want to throw a series GPU in with a 3070. And then the only caveat there is I would keep the light hash rate GPU separate from the non-light hash rate GPUs in the 3000 series. And that's because a lot of the light hash rate unlocking software can falsely identify, even with just a slight drop in the hash rate of the GPUs. So a lot of times, if you have non-light hash rate GPUs, you may even just want to turn off the light hash rate feature, whether that be on LOL miner or T-Rex or whatever it is, if you're mining with non-light hash rate GPUs, and then keep your light hash rate GPUs on a separate rig. Of course, that is assuming you are mining Ethereum. Technically, if you're mining like Flux or something that isn't affected by light hash rate, it's not as much of a problem. So that pretty much wraps up Phoenix Miner. Pretty surprising to see them releasing anything at this point. And you also have to keep in mind that it appears that it's Spark Pool that's doing all the updates here. So it does have that tie to Spark Pool, which, you know, take that as you will. If you decide that you don't want to be a part of Spark Pool for whatever reason, they are basically a part of it. So next we have BZ Miner version 8.1.0. And what's in this release? They added NVIDIA GPU memory temperature monitoring for Linux. It seems to be the big hot thing to do right now, is adding that GPU memory temperature monitoring for NVIDIA GPUs across all these miners, which is fantastic. We also see it, of course, being updated in the latest releases for the Hive OS as well. And it's super helpful because now I don't have to explain that your CPU or your core temperatures don't matter, and that's not really, your GPU is not really running at 60 degrees Celsius, and you are in fact thermal throttling on the memory, and you need to replace the thermal pads. Because I feel like 99% of my conversations with people that are asking questions is, why is my hash rate low on my RTX 3070, 3080 or whatever, 3090 or whatever? And you're like, well, it's because you're thermal throttling. But my GPU says it's running at 60 degrees Celsius. Yes, that's your GPU core. It's not what we're referencing here. So as there's more visuals for this, I think it's definitely going to help out with that online troubleshooting that you run into. Another note about that, we go back to the light hash rate problem. And the non-light hash rate GPUs that start basically getting reported in a rig that's running a miner with light hash rate unlocks, and it starts trying to light hash rate unlock a non-light hash rate GPU, that 9 times out of 10 is also your memory modules as well. Either memory modules or, of course, the supporting components. Drawing a blank. A great example, which I still need to go in and show you guys, is the Asus TUF model, where the cooler itself will basically have the surface, well, it has active cooling on the memory modules as well as on the core, but it has passive cooling on a separate metal plate for all the power components. And typically when it is overheating, it's those that you need to pull off. There's a plate that you need to pull off and replace the thermal pads there. The Asus TUF models across the board, that seems to be the offending factor, and it's unique from the rest of the designs for NVIDIA third-party board manufacturers. So just a note there, trying to cover it all so you guys maybe learn something and it helps out. Slight improvement to Ethereum and Ethereum Classic hash rate. Improved ET hash DAG generation for high overclocked cards. That it does have, they have a 2% Caspa dev team fee for this one in particular. So, you know, if you want to not pay that fee and solo mine, that is a possibility as well. You will need to configure your own node though. So that pretty much wraps up miner releases for the day. Let's go ahead and talk about cooling off those GPUs, because the 30 series definitely has a problem. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 graphics cards modded with copper shims, up to 46 degrees Celsius drop in GDDR6 memory temperatures. And Cool My GPU, who has been in here quite a bit, and you can find him in our Rocket chat, has been selling copper plates for a lot of the GPUs. And this is basically the idea behind it. Now, it is important to note that this can be dangerous and at scale isn't really practical in my humble opinion, because you are, risking damage to the GPU. It's even more difficult than just putting on thermal pads and thermal paste. And it's very time consuming as well. But if you have a really problematic GPU, this is the best option outside of moving to, of course, either full on like water cooling with a water block with an active backplate water block, or alternatively moving to immersion cooling. Depending on pricing, that could, of course, change things as well, depending on where you're at there. But let's go ahead and get into this. We all know just how hot GDDR6X memory chips can get on NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards, but modders have come up with a solution. One of the key upgrades for the high-end NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards was the use of GDDR6X memory modules, offering over 18 gigabits per second of memory speeds. These memory chips are the best in terms of bandwidth performance, but they also happen to get really hot, reaching over 100 degrees Celsius in some cases. In my experience, in all cases, except for the 3070s and below, I guess, maybe not always. And one of the tropes that's like super annoying right now too is your RMAs aren't approved for high memory temperatures. And that's a big problem, because what they say is, it's okay, these memory modules can run at 110 degrees Celsius. But what they aren't saying, which is the point of it, is if it's at 110 degrees Celsius, it is more than likely being thermal throttled, which means it would be getting hotter, except the memory's downclocking itself and performing worse, resulting in worse performance on your hash rate and whatever other memory intensive tasks you're doing with the GPU. And staying under 110 degrees Celsius because it's thermal throttling, but they still won't RMA it because they say that's within spec. And that's some BS from NVIDIA and their board partners, and they need to get their act together, in my humble opinion. It's something that's been frustrating me for a while. So while the graphics card manufacturers have used thick thermal pads between the GDDR6X dies and thermal solutions, they don't seem to offer adequate cooling performance. Some users have seen a huge drop in temperatures by replacing these thermal pads with those that offer high thermal density, but modders have gone one step ahead. YouTuber and hardware modder Dandyworks posted a video on his channel showcasing how he dropped temperatures of his Asus RTX 3070 Ti tough graphics card memory from 110C to 64C by replacing the thermal pads with copper shim pads. The copper pads have two variants. One measures 0.2 millimeters in thickness for graphics cards with cold plates shared by the GPU and the VRAM, and a second thicker version which is the same thickness as the thermal pads in the case the cold plate is not shared. These copper shim pads are inexpensive and usually sell for around, and it doesn't have a price, which is funny, but the thermal paste needs to be applied on both ends of the copper shim pads to ensure adequate thermal dissipation. In the case of Dandyworks, the user saw a drop from 110C to 64 degrees Celsius, which is a drop of 46 degrees Celsius, and a quite major one, which was evaluated using prolonged testing periods with crypto mining. Crypto mining was used since it puts the most stress on the memory, and it loves the new GDDR6X dies. All true. The fan speed was set to 100%, 3000 RPMs in the case of the Asus TUF model, and the GPU clock speed was lowered too, since it doesn't offer much use case when mining. Now, some things that should be mentioned is that opening up a graphics card and applying this mod will void the warranty no matter the region. Another thing is that the copper shim pads do have the tendency to apply more pressure on the fragile components such as GDDR6X dies under them. So if more than necessary mounting pressure is applied, they can result in permanent damage to the chips. The other thing is like, if you're going to do this, that's very important, because there's going to be a fine line between getting the heatsink to properly cool the actual core and not put too much pressure on the components where you're going to cause damage. So if you do decide to do this, do it at your own risk and be very careful when you are basically putting the cooler back on. The other note, right, is like, essentially, well, yeah, that covers it. Never mind. That's what I'm talking about. This, you don't want to put too much pressure on it, but you want to put enough pressure on it to where you are sealing up and connecting with the GPU core, because if you don't connect with the GPU core, then that's going to be overheating and be just as much of a problem. So Video Cards managed to get a list of users from Hardware Lux forums who happen to have done similar modding on their graphics cards, and that can be seen below. Once again, while there are massive benefits that can be obtained from this mod on the GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards, there are also some huge drawbacks, such as voiding the warranty and potential damage to the memory dies. It is advised that anyone who wants to try this mod out does so at his own risk. Dun, 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 dun. So there it is. That's what you can do. There are plenty of places and forums where you can check it out. Like I said, Cool My GPU is actually selling plates. For the most part, the plates that he's selling is for the back plate, I believe. But, you know, there is the option, of course, of this as well, and I think he has those as well. So last I heard, he does have a lot of orders, so I don't know if he's super far behind right now either. All right. NVIDIA RTX 3080 GPU prices fall off a cliff overnight in Australia. Global prices should follow. Coming from WCCF Tech once again, following up on our reporting about NVIDIA slashing GPU prices yesterday, a lot of sources have started corroborating the overreaching trend of declining prices. The most interesting report comes from a tweet by Hardware Unboxed via Video Cards, which says that prices of the RTX 3080 GPU in Australia have fallen from $22.99 to $14.99 Australian overnight, a decline of more than 35%. Combining this with the fact that a lot of retailers are trying to thin their inventory in case a bubble bursts, and you have ripe conditions for a massive free fall in global GPU prices. The specific GPU in question is the Asus GeForce RTX 3080 Tough Gaming Overclock, which declined in price by 35% overnight. A fall of 35% overnight is unheard of, and likely means that retailers are trying to shed the GPU at cost. As the prices get even more brutal, we will see some retailers trying to take losses to get rid of GPU inventory as well. With the Ethereum 2.0 merge coming up in the latter half of the year, the profitability of GPU mining is basically going to be halved. That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. We actually don't know what the profitability will be due to the fact that we don't know how the rest of the markets are going to respond, the rest of the tokens, the coins, which coins are going to be better, which GPUs are going to be most profitable on the coin that decides to take off, right? We don't have any of this information. If we were talking about like a halving, but even then we have to adjust for price. I don't think that profitability can be stated that it will be halved. I think it could definitely go way below that, and I think that it could maintain above that, just depending on, of course, the way everybody reacts to it, right? This will double the ROI, return on investment time, of a GPU and reduce the mining premium on GPUs right now. Well, the ROI on GPUs has already doubled, right? We were already looking at this. Even with the price drop of the 6700 XT last week, we already we see it still taking double of what it was when you were purchasing GPUs in 2019 and 2020. So as far as the ROI being doubled, that's already happened. Will we get another doubling of the return on investment? Maybe, but that's already happened. So yeah. We're still in a semiconductor supply crunch situation, but with miners divesting their operations, the flood of secondhand GPUs should seriously depress global prices. Another tweet from 3D Center, who have been tracking GPU aggregates for a while now, shows that the high-end RTX 3090 is at its lowest priced ever since last August as well, and slated to go down further. There's also speculation that NVIDIA will keep the RTX 30 series alive alongside the 40 series, which should help supply even more. The reason why this makes sense is that both series are manufactured at different foundries, Samsung versus TSMC. And by doing this, NVIDIA effectively doubles their typical wafer allocation from a single foundry. If you are on the market or in the market for a GPU, we should seriously advise you to wait. The overarching global trend for GPU prices on a clear downward trajectory, and it makes a lot of sense to wait at this point. It is entirely possible that prices will actually get close to the original MSRPs in a few months as mining demand fizzles away and the accumulated influx of secondhand GPUs from mines satisfies most of the GPU demand out there. Intel is also launching its Alchemist GPU lineup this year, which will further improve GPU supply. So, there is this overarching narrative for GPU shortage and pricing that is saying that for sure GPU prices are in decline and that it will decline further and you should wait a couple months. The things that we aren't clear on, because if we wait a couple months but the conflict is still continuing in Ukraine, then we have to worry about, of course, the materials coming from Ukraine to manufacture these GPUs, and the shortage could get worse, in which case we could see a complete reversal of this in the next 3 months. So I don't want to say that you should just blanket statement wait. I think that definitely looking at the used market right now is a very good idea. I know that some people are starting to pick up some deals as far as that goes. Now, profitability yesterday was really bad for me on Ethereum, but that's not necessarily every day. And that was a specific case that we'll talk about with Crazy Pool. But in general, GPU mining profitability has gone up over the past week, which is fantastic. I don't know if that's going to continue. We'll have to see. And then, of course, we're still keeping a close eye on Ethereum moving to proof of stake and what's going to happen there. But maybe we start seeing large GPU miners making huge shifts and dumping a bunch of their GPUs on the market. A big example here would be crypto miner Hut8, as they report a surprise Q4 loss and their shares fall. The company's revenue was in line with expectations, but EBITDA, something like that, missed the estimates. Canadian cryptocurrency miner Hut8 Mining reported a surprise fourth quarter adjusted loss of 67 US cents, or the Canadian, 67 cents, 53 cents US per share on Thursday. The average analyst estimate pointed to earnings of 17 cents Canadian according to FactSet data. The miner said that the loss was primarily due to non-cash revaluation loss on liability warrants of 114.2 million US dollars, which was partially offset by increased revenue. Revenue more than quadrupled to 57.9 million Canadian dollars from a year earlier and was in line with analysts' average estimate. As of December 31st, the company had a balance of 5,518 Bitcoins with a market value of 323.9 million US dollars, which includes 2,000 Bitcoins loaned as part of its fiat yield strategy. The fourth quarter adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization was 35.3 million Canadian dollars, which missed analyst estimates of 37.1 million Canadian dollars and was up from 30.7 million Canadian dollars in the third quarter. HUD 8's hash rate increased to 2.5 exahash a second by February 28th from about 2 exahash a second on December 31st. Its hash rate capacity will be about 3.55 exahash a second once all of the mining machines the company has ordered are received and deployed. The miner is holding an earnings conference call at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Its shares fell 3.5% in pre-market trading, while Bitcoin was down almost 1%. It seems like Bitcoin's also recovering. Ethereum's seeing a pump here, as you guys can see, by about 3%, which it needed to catch up to. And the markets look good today overall. So, if you're going to report a Q4 loss, probably on the day that everything looks the best in cryptocurrency that it has in a while, is probably a good time to do it. HUD 8's interesting because we've been talking about their GPU mining problems that they've had in the past. We've been talking about them and other GPU miners kind of doing this, like some weird shifts into like cloud gaming, etc., and processing data for that. I don't know if any of that will come to fruition. It would be interesting to see if they just start liquidating their GPUs, and that's what I would really keep an eye on, is the large miners liquidating their GPUs and moving into ASICs. Everybody I've talked to this week, I've been scheduling a lot of Zoom calls, and in fact, what I was going to do is set up essentially some Zoom calls for anybody that wants to chat. And basically, if you guys want advice or just want to chat about something, because I think it helps me learn a little bit more about what's going on with everything. One of the things that I've started to learn this week, for example, is pretty much all the bigger miners, larger than me, let's say like somewhere around like Bitsby tripping size, somewhere around there, are all starting to make the shift from GPUs to ASICs. And that's an important shift to note. So regardless of what people are telling you up front, like to your face, like about GPU mining, what the reality is, what the actions of everybody behind the scenes seems to be a shift to ASIC mining. The hard part with that, of course, and I'm experiencing it too, is as profitability declines, it makes it really hard to invest in, of course, ASIC miners. So it's kind of the caveat there, but I want to make that very clear and point that out so everyone's aware. And the other problem with the ASIC miners, right, is I invested like $8,000 and my miner died and it's making no money. So at least with GPU mining, if one of the GPUs dies, it's just one GPU, right? And so that's a little bit tough to swallow that pill for me personally. So that's kind of one of the other downsides of ASICs that I really don't like, especially at a smaller level where, I don't have a whole bunch of other ASICs running yet. All right, so profitability though for Ethereum, if we go to last month so we can see our payouts. For the 16th of March, we earned 0.032, which was $91.43 after the pump in Ethereum today. It was $78 yesterday. By far the worst day I've ever had in mining, even compared to solo mining Ethereum Classic. So, basically the reason this happened is because, as you can see here, they had essentially two 500% blocks back to back on Crazy Pool, not finding a lot. Then if we move up to the 16th, it doesn't look like it's getting much better. 300% and a 282%. This is rough. And if you're on Crazy Pool, don't worry, I feel your pain. I did just tweet out because I'm trying to remind myself of it. Let me get the tweet for you guys again. I said, let's pull this over. I said, convincing myself to stay on Crazy Pool. Good luck has its storms. A quote from George Lucas. And it's one of those things where if you are on Crazy Pool and they start hitting a lot of blocks, or they do hit a big block, when they do that, you have really, really good payout days. So it's like if you switch right now and then they start hitting a lot of blocks, you're going to be kicking yourself. So I'm trying to just stay there, right? I mean, we had 2 really good days, some of the best days we've ever had in a long time, at $293 on the 13th and $258 on the 12th. So yeah, but current round variance, what are we at right now? 130% already. So the finding blocks over here is not rough. If the hash rate was closer to 3 terahash like it was for a while, I think it'd be a lot better. The other option, of course, is like if you just want something steadier, I definitely recommend like 2 miners, for example. So that is where we're at. Flux, really no changes. Flux, we're still doing the same amount, right? So about that 4 to 5 coins, about $6 to $7 a day in Flux, not including the parallel assets, which would need to be taken into account. And I currently just have basically 6 cards mining Flux at this time. Then I've been mining Varus coin primarily because I'm also utilizing Varus hash for Soak coin. So that's the reason behind that. And all of these are very closely related. So once you start kind of playing around with creating smart chains, that's going to be enabled by Komodo. Where does Komodo get all of its security and kind of go through that process? It's really a fork of Zcash. And then that's kind of why all of these are on the same pool. If you're going to build like a Varus node, for example, you're really just building a smart chain node built on the Komodo platform. It's the same way that Soakcoin will function as well. So that is kind of fun. And the reason I'm doing it, like I said, is because it's helping me learn about it. Now, Varus hash is primarily CPU mining, but you can GPU mine and you can cell phone mine. Maybe we can talk about that at a later date. Let's take a look at profitability. RTX 3090, we have Ethereum at over $4 a day on the 3090. Profitability looking really good. Then we have Cero at $2.19 a day. Oh, here, Conflux at $2.27 a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Ethereum Classic at $2 a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. An interesting one would be Z Classic at $1.97 a day after power. Flux at, well, let's fix Flux like we always have to do so that it's at least in line. And that would be $2.43 a day after power on Flux. And let's see, Ravencoin $1.65 a day after power, and Ergo $1.81 a day after power. Mining pool stats.stream. Let's take a look and see what is going on. 211 exahash a second, back over the 200 exahash a second, kind of staying there on Bitcoin. Let's see if Ethereum is staying above 1 petahash. It is at 1 petahash, so we're good there. Let's take a look at Ravencoin, see if there's been any changes. It's kind of been on a slow decline and a decline in difficulty as well. Looks to still be doing the same thing. Let's take a look at Flux. Flux is at 2 mega solutions a second, kind of all over the place though. You can see big dips and stuff going on all over the place with it. A lot of that has to do with all the solo mining stuff. The solo mining stuff though on Flux is a good sign for Flux in general. It means that people are definitely bullish on Flux in general. Let's take a look at Ergo. 14.66 terahash a second. It had that rise and it's kind of been staying steady, which is good news, of course, for Ergo. And I think that's it. I think that's all I want to look at. I'm really enjoying basically the Komodo platform as well, by the way. Let's take a look at mining pool profits for the day on Ethereum. Last 90 days, Crazy Pool in first, Flex Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 60 days, Flex Pool in first, Crazy Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 30 days, ZET in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, Flex Pool in third. Last 21 days, ZET in first, Flex Pool in second, Crazy Pool in third. Last 14 days, ZET in first, Crazy Pool in second, 2 miners in third. Last 7 days, look at this, big lead, 2 miners in first, Crazy Pool in second, Flex Pool in third. Last 3 days, ZET in first, 2 miners in second, Flex Pool in third. And for the last day, ZET in first, Nano Pool in second, 2 miners in third. Here's the problem, right? Switching to 2 miners right now, probably just based on luck and how everything works, everything is going to fall back over to Crazy Pool and have a pump for a few days. I feel like that's how that would happen if I switched. So I'm going to stay on Crazy Pool for sure. I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to miss out. Give it to me, Crazy. Come on. Let's just hit like one big block. Make Papa Bear happy, right? Gold Shell, KD6 is in first place still. It's up about $10 a day at 128 US dollars a day. Everything's looking up, right? So your KD5 is up to 86 US dollars a day. Your Antminer L7's up to 40 US dollars a day. Scrolling down, of course, and trying to take a look at the S19 Pro. That's the only thing that's not really up, at $13 a day on pooling for Bitcoin. And that's because of, well, like I was talking about earlier, everybody's kind of moving off of GPU mining and moving into Bitcoin ASIC mining, and the difficulty on the network, we're starting to see that realization of it. We're not fully realized in the difficulty increase since the recent increase in hash power on Bitcoin, but we had that huge 15% increase of hash power overnight on Bitcoin. That difficulty starting to be realized on the network, and even with the pump of Bitcoin price, the miners still are not staying at what they were or going up, while the rest of the market from the mining perspective is going up. So as a miner, it is interesting to go ahead and say, well, maybe I don't make the play that everybody else is making, right? Maybe I make the play to secure other networks. It's just an idea, kind of something I've been kicking around personally, not financial advice, but I think that it's important to think about those things, because if everybody's doing it, not everybody can be profitable on it, right? That's kind of the problem. That's going to be the problem with GPU mining, though, once the Ethereum moves proof of stake, right? So it's going to be an interesting game to play. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to cover it, of course, on the channel and try to make the best decisions. And you can either learn from my mistakes or learn from my successes. And hopefully I'll learn from y'all's mistakes and successes as well. And eventually, just what? WAGMI, is that what it is? Eventually, we all going to make it. It'll be fine. BT Miners, sponsor for today. You have the Antminer S19 Pro at 9,900 US dollars. I think this was the big one. The Gold Shell X5 is down to 2,000 US dollars. What was the X5 doing? X5. The X5 is doing $2.50 a day on NiceHash with script, which is probably, makes sense. Funny to see Verge here, XVG. That's an old one. Throwback. The KD box is down to 5,300 US dollars. These Jazz miners really have not come down yet at all. Antminer L3 Plus hasn't really come down at all. Unfortunately, we're just in a weird spot, right? We're in a weird spot where, especially with ASICs, because the problem with ASICs right now too is that there's all that shutdown in China where all this manufacturing is getting done. And I think my understanding is they're going to be shut down for another week. And so as far as getting new stock in for ASIC miners, it's very low. So I don't think that ASIC mining or ASIC miners are going to come down in price, at least for a little while, a few weeks, maybe a few months, just primarily due to the fact that where they're being manufactured is shut down. So you need to keep that in mind. Let's get into questions and answers for the day. Super chats, never required, always appreciated. Helps me keep the lights on through the bear markets and keep doing this show every day that I try to pour as much time into as possible. Then they are the easiest to read because they're highlighted. So I will answer those questions first. Tagging @SonOfATech will turn my name orange, making it easier for me to read your message. So if you have a question, that is a requirement, because if I try to dig too much and read every message, then we just end up being in the position where we don't get to as many questions, right? So Gandalf Gray early on said, @SonOfATech, been involved in crypto for years, but only been mining for about 4 months. I also see the shift to ASICs. With high entry, do you think should save the GPU money for a Bitcoin ASIC? Well, we just addressed that, right? We just talked about it. Everybody's making that play. Your shortage for the supply is a lot worse because of the shutdown in China, and the profitability on the Bitcoin mining ASICs are tanking because of the new miners that are getting released and thrown in. So for me, right, when I'm looking at this, I was looking at making that shift along with everybody else, but now I'm kind of thinking, maybe I need to find a different thing, right? Maybe I need to find a different shift, maybe a different ASIC miner, or maybe GPU mining, and just go all out on the GPU mining since all the prices are dropping. I'm up in the air about it, man. I don't have a good ASIC contact that would be able to I wish you could get somehow like group buy bulk stuff going on with ASICs. I just can't really find anybody that'll do that, and the prices are crazy, and I don't think they're going to come down because of this issue, at least for a few weeks, probably more like months. Golden Wolf says, @SonOfATech, good morning from Seattle, USA. Goat coin, driving to fiat job, listening on the way. Awesome. Hope you're having a great drive, and I'm helping you pass the time. Detroit Irish says, @SonOfATech, you had talked about big miners, Hut 8-ish, liquidating GPUs. Where would we find these when it starts to happen? You're going to find them everywhere. So one of the things that happened like the last bull run, right? You just started seeing a bunch of 580s for like $75 a pop on everywhere from AliExpress to eBay to Facebook Marketplace. And I think that would be coming because I do, just from talking to people that have been GPU mining, it seems like that's what they're doing. So I do think that there will be a flood of GPUs on the market. John W. says, @SonOfATech, are you a white belt or a black belt? I'm definitely a white belt, bro. Kappa C says, @SonOfATech, what driver version do you use on Hive for your 5700 XT rigs? I have to go look. I believe it's like, and I have to go roll that other one back, but is this it? No, that's the 20.40 because that's the one we upgraded and it started messing up. Yeah, 19.30 on the 5700 rigs. Thanks for the question. Killyfish says, @SonOfATech, Gminer memory temps also works for the 2060. Awesome. Thomas Collins says, hey, @SonOfATech, I finally made a live stream. I'm the guy that randomly @ you on Twitter, and also just got Micro Center to price match the 3070 Ti for $699. I love your channel. Excited for the future. Yeah, let's keep pushing forward. And that's pretty cool that you got them to price match it. And you made them price match with what retailer? Just Best Buy? Ara252. Oh, I haven't heard from you in a while. What's up, dude? It says, Ask Son of a Tech, question for you. I know more is better, but what rate of air exchange is best for enclosed mining room? Is there a point of diminished returns? I don't know, actually. That's a good question. But I'll tell you, it has more to do with the size of the room than it does to do with anything else. I do know that. And your exhaust means more than anything else as well. Dan Sand says, Ask Son of a Tech, can you explain Rocket Chat is always active with other miners? Do you chat on it when you're not making videos, like when you troubleshoot, etc.? I chat on it, not as much all the time. Lately, I've been chatting in there more, but not really about troubleshooting. Not really about troubleshooting at all. Because usually if I'm troubleshooting, I'm out at the farm and I'm not really, if I'm working, I'm not chatting, if that makes sense, right? If I'm working, I'm not chatting. Mike, we have a $10 in euro super chat from Panzer881 says the reason why big farmers switch to ASICs could be that less service personnel are needed for ASICs than GPUs. That is a fair point as well. That does need to be taken into account, that the ASICs typically are a lot more plug and play, provided you understand the power ramifications. That's about how it goes, right? You could overclock, but most of these guys are not overclocking. I do know, like, some of the smaller ones do, the larger ones don't. But yes, that's a fair point as well. Anonymous one says, Ask Son of a Tech, when do you think the Zoom meetings will open up 12 gigahash farm? I don't know. I want a 12 gigahash farm. Eric Bedross says, Ask Son of a Tech, did you hear Nano spiked 40% in the last day? No, I did not. Grover Clark says, Ask Son of a Tech, is there a cheap way to add power to a home? I'm using every available watt, and my wife is mad since she can't use her hair dryer. I actually had that problem one time too. Vacuuming the rugs or make coffee, you need help. There's not a cheap way. I'm just going to say there's not a cheap way. You need to get an electrician for a panel upgrade and all that. It can be anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000, just depending. Thomas Collins says, Ask Son of a Tech, I got them to price match Newegg. Newegg has had Asus TUF for $6.99 yesterday. They were in stock for 45 minutes. Talon79 says, Ask Son of a Tech, if you had to choose, would you pick two 1660 Supers or one A2000? Probably the 1660 Supers, because they don't need active memory cooling. XRP the Goat says, Ask Son of a Tech, I've just been mining on Ethermine. Should I switch? Currently, I am not mining on Ethermine primarily, and I will not mine on Ethermine primarily due to their decision to basically participate in sanctions and censorship. And then if you wanted something similar, two miners would be similar. They have not made any similar announcements. So yeah. Jeff Rodriguez says, Ask Son of a Tech, just curious, how did you come up with your YouTube name? Save that for Rocket Chat. Everybody go sign up and $sign name and support SOAT. No, I don't know. It was one of those things that was just popped into my head and I thought it sounded cool. Dean Winchester said, Ask Son of a Tech, I've run out of power at my home. Is getting a couple of S19 Pros and having it hosted at a place like Compass Mining a ripoff? Do they take too big of a cut? My power at home is 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Sounds like your power at home is pretty dang good. I think you would probably pay more overall with Compass Mining with their fees and everything. That being said, there are other people that are working on hosting. I mean, like ProDirect, that are saying they're going to be at 8 cents a kilowatt hour all in, which would be cheaper. You know, it's going to be like anything else in life. You got to shop around and see run the numbers and see what's best, right? Leonardo Mohammed says, at Tech, to get faster payouts, myself and 11 others have put 4.5 gigahash a second together on a single pool other than looking at our 24-hour reported average per rig per person. Another way to calculate each person's earning. I don't know. I mean, you could... you could literally just split up the rigs. And if you're on a pool, it's not going to matter. And each control them separate. Just split it up evenly. But that could be hard too, because then if a rig goes down and that's your rig, it's kind of not fair too. Yeah. That's part of that's going to be up to y'all. That sounds rough too. But I don't have an idea. Mike Wright says, at Son of a Tech, did you ever figure out when the monetary change for Ergo is? I know it's not in effect right now, but everywhere I look, it seems like there's a different answer. I do not. And they've kind of gone dark on me. I'll shoot another Telegram message off today to see if I can get some clarification from them. Ty says, as Son of a Tech, will Flux can handle the hash from ETH when it goes to proof of stake, and the GPU prices will drop to worthless. There's no way to really predict what coin or if a coin could, in theory, handle the hash rate. My assumption would be that there is no coin that can handle the amount of hash rate coming off of Ethereum right now. But a lot of things can change, so I have no proof of that. Now, Ethereum's looking really sketchy. They're going to be shutting off the ability to liquidate your stake right after the merge. And a lot of people say that's a technical thing. To me, that sounds like they're scared of people dumping. Worm24 says, as Son of a Tech, Raven on Discord just made an announcement on their P2SH release being almost ready just 3 minutes ago. Any thoughts? No thoughts, because I don't know what the details of the release are. James PT says, as Son of a Tech, control power usage automatically using Hive OS schedules. Lock in some mining downtime for when people will need it. Maybe I'm not processing that all the way. Thomas Collins says, hey, at Son of a Tech, do you have an updated price per mega hash you want to pay now for a GPU? And do you put a premium on non-light hash rate GPUs? I wouldn't put a premium on non-light hash rate GPUs at this point because, what's the point if we're expecting proof of stake? Doesn't matter. That's an interesting thought. I wouldn't put it on there. I mean, here's the deal. If you're already pricing it based on mega hash, you're already putting the premium on the non-light hash rate. Because non-light hash rate 3070 has less hash rate than the light hash rate has less than the non-light hash rate. So it's already getting calculated in there. So there's not an extra premium, no. The premium's already there. Get Money FB says, as Son of a Tech, do you think the merge will happen in June because of the testnet, or do you believe that what Bitsby Trippin reports that there's too many issues at this point? Okay. There's a lot of weirdness going. It's hard to tell exactly what's going to happen. Or do I feel like June? I still don't feel like June. I definitely feel like there's some issues bouncing around as far as all that goes. But, I mean, it does look like the testnet as far as Kiln was ready, successful. There's a couple little bugs. They're going to have to get it worked out. Everybody sounds confident at Ethereum, but then also the things like the post-merge locking of your staking is a little bit worrisome as well. So, yeah. At Son of a Tech says, LOL at ETH dump stake. That's the only reason I staked was to dump when 2.0 kicked in. Thankfully, I only staked a few ETH through Coinbase. That's an interesting one to do. Dan Sand says, at Son of a Tech, do you set your GPU fans to 100% or auto? And if auto, at what temp? So I am right now sitting at like 80% on a majority of the GPUs, just a hard set. And that's because it's really, really hot. Some GPUs I'll spin up to 100%. If they can get away with auto, I leave auto and adjust the default memory temperature, or just the default temperatures. But the problem with that is the memory always gets way hotter. So setting the fan speed is kind of the way to go. I would like to stay lower, but it's really difficult with the heat for me right now. James PT says, that son of a tech was answering other person's question. You forgot. Oh, okay. 2 minute delay. Got it. All right, cool. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the joining membership. Get Money FB. That rocks. Hope you guys learned something today. Please hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bell so you're notified when we go live. We're live every Monday through Friday, 9:45 a.m. Central to 10:45 a.m. Central on YouTube. And we are available on Spotify as well under the Crypto Mining with Son of a Tech name. So that's how you can find me over there. Definitely go show support on the Spotify side. It needs a lot of support. Go get the reviews in. I appreciate it. If you can, listen to a couple episodes over there so you can put in a review, because that would be helpful. And I'm going to be really busy still working on Soakcoin, so I don't know about dedicated content. Because working on Soakcoin takes a lot of time, and I'm trying to finish it. So as long as I maintain this, we're good. For me, I feel like I'm getting pulled in a lot of different directions. There's the farm I'm getting pulled in, the YouTube I'm getting pulled in one direction, and then this new obsession with creating the coin. I probably need to sit down and write out what I want as far as goals and so on. Because we are clearly, like, I feel like the YouTube's not doing that well. So I think that I could definitely make it better, but if I go full on into focusing on doing YouTube, I don't think that that's necessarily the best contribution of my time either. So I'm kind of at a weird spot right now, but thanks. I'll see you next Tuesday. Oh, the test bench broke this time. Funny. Whatever.